I went to Sugo on Canada Day.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You got in.
Oh, yeah?
I went not too long ago with
for lunch.
My cousins came down. It's just solid.
I think Sugo is better than Solid.
You think it's better than solid?
Oh yeah. I know
not
it's
a sponsor, but if you guys,
Hmm?
if you guys want to,
what?
Sugo. I said not a sponsor, but if they want to.
Oh, if Sugo wants to bro, Sugo can do whatever the it
You
wants.
can do whatever you want to me.
Yeah, like
It's just
if they want us to pay them.
Yeah.
We are back with Time to Kill, TTK, theScore esports' official podcast and unofficial. I mean, we're all of it. Like what, right? Like
do whatever
we can
exist
do whatever
under the radar,
bro,
above the radar.
We're in the underground. We're the overground.
Off
we're
the grid,
like,
on the
off
grid.
the grid, on the grid. We're absolutely like.
I need to fucking fix up.
Fix up,
Yeah,
dog. You
sitting.
look smart, man. Look good.
Hmm.
Just us two today
Yeah, just us two
in the studio.
Thank God. We don't have anyone else.
I know. Fuck. I don't know what I was
Because-
gonna do if I had to do one more week, man, with another body on the couch. Danny was supposed to be here today, but he is sick. He's ill. He's ill, like in the
Yeah,
sense that
he's
he's
ill
like
in the
ill.
sense
He's
of-
illin, right? But he's also ill in the sense that he's not well today. Yeah. How's your weekend? Do anything special?
Not really. We did the same thing as well. We both house hunted,
We both house hunted.
which was okay.
It was. I mean, it was certainly better than okay by Ontario standards.
Yeah.
You know, as we've discussed.
Everyone move back. Actually, don't.
Please don't do that.
Actually, don't do that.
Yeah.
Stay where you are in Acton, Ontario. or
Anything
whatever.
else? Any like fun, quirky things you did?
I did D&D yesterday.
D&D.
Yeah, we did a one-off, but I did it where like I just like can't fuck it. Like I don't actually really like D&D.
Okay.
And I was in like a long committed campaign that was like in years in the process. That's not happening anymore for many different reasons. But friend is now doing like one-offs. Like you just show up, make a character on the spot basically,
That's cool.
or like the day before, like write your character sheet out. Now I was house hunting, so I had to come later, and he's like, "Do you want to just voice all the NPCs?"
Huh.
Because he's like, "You're going to be the only one that's like actually gonna like
Yeah.
like do a bit." So he's like, I'll like if you want to just do all the narration and the NPCs, and then he's like, I'll just do the actual DM stuff where like I tell them like.
Is there a moratorium like on Skyrim NPC voice line jokes?
He had it pre-written, so
Yeah.
most of it
Oh,
was.
I see. Okay, yeah.
Was like me just reading off his sheet in like a voice.
Okay, so no arrow to the leg jokes or whatever.
But I did, it was just the one of many.
Okay.
Yeah. How was your weekend?
It was good. Other than house hunting and boring stuff, I watched the Black Sabbath show. I don't know if you know about this. Black Sabbath played their last ever show this weekend in Birmingham, in England.
Oh, and it was like filmed on BBC or something.
Yeah, it was a huge
Oh,
concert.
okay.
Oh no, it was crazy. Like it was a live stream, but it was massive. Like they had like tons of metal bands and some non-metal bands from around the world come and play the show, and they
Oh,
played
that's
it
cool.
in. Yeah, it was the
I'll have to
first.
take a look.
Oh, it's really sick. If you're a fan, I'm giga Sabbath fan, massive Sabbath fan. It was really insane. It was the last time they're gonna play live. Ozzy is not particularly well. It's
Yeah.
actually the last time. It's not like they're doing the thing where they're like, oh, it's the last time, we swear. Like it's
Yeah.
actually they're yeah.
It seems like he's been sundowning for
Brother, he's been sundowning since he was 22,
Yeah.
and he is a fucking king. Like
Yeah,
the
that's
fact
true.
that he is still alive is a miracle of biology. I mean, honestly, like truly. But yeah, that was it. I watched it. It was emotional. It was cool, but it's a good show. Yeah.
Now League happened.
League happened. Legend did. It did. And it did.
And the funniest possible thing happened.
In the funniest possible... yeah, you know what? Let's just... the funniest possible thing that could have happened did happen. And thankfully, we don't have to talk about it by ourselves. We actually can talk about it with the people who were there. With the peoples, actually.
Not just one.
Not just one. We have the dynamic duo. Freshly out of the shower.
Freshly showered.
Freshly showered.
Freshly pickled.
Freshly pickled is Sebastien, as you know from the regular featuring on this podcast, and Mr. Sean Wetselaar, the GOAT
Hello.
himself,
Howdy.
helloing from Vancouver, Canada, from MSI. How you lads doing?
Freshly pickled goes crazy. That sounds like a punk
Doing
album
good.
cover.
Yeah. I'm feeling very pickly today. I'm
Very
very
pickly.
nicely pickled. Yeah,
So there's just one game today, right, for you guys?
There's no games, right?
that's right. Nope, there's games today.
There's one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
in like
TFO play AL later.
like in the
Oh,
afternoon.
yesterday
right?
was the break. Sorry. Yesterday
Yes.
was the break. Yes.
Yeah. Yesterday was the break. Sean and I went out for dinner as my girlfriend came to town. We had some great Japanese food because as Vancouver is, I don't know if any of you guys know what uni is, but we had some of that. We had some tuna tartare, some fatty tuna. It was really great. I also want to, because while we're on the topic of restaurants, I want to tell us a story about a certain restaurant that we went to, thanks to our lovely videographer and producer Matt Massey, who you all may know. But we all went out, and it was one of the double days that we did, like the double duty days where we had 2 series in a row. And this was right after, I think, we had a full best of 5. Was it the T1 CFO best of 5, I think, Sean?
Yes, I
Yeah.
think so.
So that went a bit long. So we're trying to, like, at this point, we're like, okay, we had dinner, but like we kind of want a snack / some drinks or whatever. Matt looks up and he's like, looks up this place called the Moose. And he's like, oh yeah, no, this sounds like a nice like British pub. We can just go there, get some like fish and chips or like poutine or whatever. We go there, and he's so like bright-eyed, he's so like anticipating this whole thing. And this is the most like scuffed metal punk bar that we've ever been in our lives. It's like if you were to step into like a Vancouver Sneaky D's, but without like the emo music. We sit down and like, not only do both Sean and Matt both order a set of mozzarella sticks, I end up getting a chicken burger. But while it's being served to us along with apple cider, you just see, loud as can be, we can barely hear each other, fucking Limp Bizkit's break stuff on the radio. And everyone's grooving, dude. And I'm like, you know what? I think that's what we need right now. This is what we need right now.
It was like over 100 decibels Limp Bizkit. Like we were screaming at each other as if we were at a concert. Like it was insane.
I have a special ability, I think, at finding like emo bars.
Yeah.
Or like or like emo goth, like pop punk sort of emo night type bars in like every city I go to. And it was funny because the last place that we went when me and Matt were in Birmingham, we went to like 5 different pubs, and the last one we went to was like the same thing, where it was like kind of like they literally like they told us to leave just because they wanted to close because it was so dead, because it was like a Sunday afternoon, like Sunday evening. But yeah, it was the exact same thing. It was just like like just playing like punk music, and I guess maybe it's him too. Maybe it just travels with him. He's just good at finding little dives like that.
Do you think I hear it like Seb describing it, like he just said metal punk bar, and I was like, all right. So I'm thinking, and then I hear Sneaky D's, Limp Bizkit, break stuff, and mozzarella sticks, and I'm like, I think we have very definitions of metal bars.
Well, it was to the point where like they had a lot of anime stickers on the wall along with like punk stickers and stuff. Like, it is very Sneaky D's coded.
They don't get
for
a lot
sure.
of places, so they need to just like amalgamate into one thing.
Kind of, yeah.
I
will say I did
unironically
enjoy the Limp Bizkit in 2025, which I don't know
So
what
you
that
were kind of
says, but
headbanging actually.
I'm so
You were
sorry.
going hard.
yeah, it was nice. Yeah, but
I saw that
so
Limp Bizkit open
that's
for
been a
Metallica
restaurant.
in
What?
Toronto. Yeah.
Did they actually?
They opened for Metallica in Toronto. I remember thinking to myself, I hate Metallica. Like
I didn't know that either of those bands were still touring.
my spiciest metal take is I just fucking hate Metallica, and I saw that Limp Bizkit was opening for them. My first reaction was just, I'm so glad someone is giving them work.
At least they're doing that.
Like, I'm so glad that the only other American metal band that anyone listens to is like being like, for our opening acts, we have to like, come on guys, like we gotta get some love to the boys, because who the fuck else will?
Fred Durst is part of the Boys.
No.
I literally didn't know either of them were touring anymore.
Oh god, yeah, Metallica like just did a huge tour, like for like the fucking 30th or 40th anniversary. I don't know. I don't really like the band.
That just seems like
it's a little
give it up.
I know. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. They're probably making a fucking killing.
They're making an absolute fucking kill.
They're actually so rich, it's crazy.
They are
okay,
so
back,
rich, it fucking hurts me. But yeah.
back to League though. The games themselves have been stellar.
Let's talk about the games.
Yeah.
Which game do you want to talk about first? I'm gonna let Sean pick. Sean, what series do you want to talk about first?
Well, you wanted to talk about the funniest possible
The
thing
funniest
happening,
possible
right?
series
And
ever that happened ever. That should be the title of
think
our
I have-
video.
I think I have a suspicion about which one you were talking about.
The video should literally be called "The Funniest Thing That Could Have Happened Ever Happened." That should be the name of it.
Sure.
Is this FlyQuest G2? Is that what you wanted to
Caps
talk
is
about?
in fucking
Yes.
hell right now.
But boys,
Yeah.
last week. So for your, I mean, Seb will know because he was here. But for Sean's context, last week we discussed, like G2 being on the ropes. You know, like I said on the podcast, I was like, I mean, they're not out yet. You know, let's not start like breaking up the team yet. But like things looked dire after the first series they played. Little did we know that the dumpster was going to be like set on fire and then like also compounded in a fucking wood chipper. Like things could not possibly have gotten any worse. So yeah, NA 3-0'd G2.
What a time to be alive.
What a fucking time to be alive.
God,
and
I love
what
NA,
an
bro.
absolutely just genuinely irredeemable display of play from G2. Just some I did a breakdown and react this morning of this one Baron fight, and I just like I don't think you could find like
You couldn't play it worse.
I literally like couldn't find a semblance of reason or logic to like anything. It was just so hard to watch. What was it like being there in North America while this was happening?
It was a very interesting experience because we have in the press room we have quite a few European press this year, and then literally at the back of the press room, Riot's comms team is screaming every time FlyQuest gets a kill. They were going hard for the home team,
Like
and at the
flip
front
flops.
of the press room there are two French journalists with their faces in their hands, just like absolutely devastated. So I didn't want to be salting the wound, I
You
didn't
should've
want
just
to
stood up
be
and said,
cheering
"Good game."
too loudly
Yeah.
because it seemed like they were having a really bad day. But after that Baron fight, I kind of had a feeling that the series was going to go a certain way. I will say Seb walked into the room like 5 minutes into game 2 and said, well, so this is obviously a sweep. And I was like, okay, brother, like don't get ahead of yourself. And yeah, I mean, he called it. It was extremely one-sided. I did expect FlyQuest to win, to be honest. I think like rational people were saying that FlyQuest had shown much better games at this tournament.
Yeah.
I think this G2 team did not gel the way that other G2 rosters have. I think although they have a lot of the same players as last year, the new pieces just didn't fit into the system in quite the same way. It's going to be hard to diagnose actually why this G2 team performed the way that they did, because obviously like Haps, Broken Blade, Hansama, these are players that have performed well internationally for years and years and years, right? And I'm still one of these people last year who will say, G2's defense, that they didn't make it out of Swiss at Worlds, but they had the hardest possible draw at Swiss, actually. Like it was ridiculous.
And
they
that
put up a
loss
fight.
too in Swiss was brutal. Like they could have made it out, right? Like that.
They could have made it out. They
yeah.
were really good. Like honestly,
Yeah.
last year we got this amazing Cinderella story with like FlyQuest and G2 and this incredible moment for NA, although we didn't quite win. But I really believe like G2 had the potential to go just as far. I think they were just as strong. This year, that is not true. And I'm not really sure exactly what went wrong, but FlyQuest has been looking better. That said, I thought that NA-EU rivalry, Caps would clutch out a game or something. I thought it would be like 3-1 or 3-2. The fact that it was a sweep was crazy. And yeah, I mean, I the worst part though, as an NA fan, guys, is I'm not even sure that I'm like, yeah, FlyQuest is going to go the distance. Like it almost felt to me like G2 was just collapsing. And FlyQuest, I'm excited to see them get another crack at some of the really strong teams in the tournament.
Yeah.
But I'm actually like not even certain that this is a statement of like, oh yeah, no, like FlyQuest have a really good shot against BLG. I'm very excited for that series. I will be cheering for them, but like I think there's a totally real world where BLG are able to beat them, and this was just kind of a collapse for Europe. The European fans are depressed.
Good.
Jox had a quote before the series. She said, "This isn't a rivalry. They always kick our ass." Because for several years now, NA has had the edge. And that's a real reversal, right? That's something totally different in esports, or not in esports, but certainly in League of Legends, that NA has been so, and kind of in esports broadly, that NA
far
has
cry
been so
from
consistently
Counter-Strike, that's
ahead.
for sure.
Yeah.
I
So
do
it's
think that,
very,
Did G2 offer up interviews after? I'm not sure how they're
They
operating.
did.
Oh my
Yeah,
god,
we
no,
interviewed-
no.
Yeah.
We interviewed Skumond immediately after the series.
been
And
fun.
I will say, honestly, it was a pretty tough interview. He was very,
It was
very
hard.
hard on himself.
Yeah.
He told us, I think he told us that it was the worst series that he feels he's played. And I did feel quite badly for him, honestly.
Yeah.
Skumond specifically is a rookie. This is his first year of playing in the LEC. He didn't win domestically, but they did make it to MSI, right? Obviously they lost to MFOID domestically, but like it's his first year in the league. He's playing on G2. There's a lot of pressure. He manages to make it to the finals, even though he doesn't win, and then he loses to, obviously losing to FlyQuest internationally has to hurt. But like, as this kid who's very early in his career and obviously has a lot of potential, I kind of even tried to say in the interview, listen, like you're here at an international event, like that's something to be proud of in like 5 months into your career. But yes, I mean, he definitely got a little gapped by Inspired. I think Inspired played very well, and I think that G2 had some problems that stemmed from that. And it was tough. There are some moments like that at events where for those who don't know at home, the way that the post-game interviews that you always see works is almost always they are agreed upon before a match is played. And so a player will have agreed to an interview, a team will have agreed to an interview prior to the match. So we knew we were interviewing Skumond going into the day. And I mean, not that I endorse players canceling interviews, but there are moments where I'm like, listen, buddy, like you need to go home and review the games, and I'm so sorry. Yeah.
There was one moment I felt really bad for him. The Baron fight, we've now mentioned it a few times. The Baron fight, obviously, in general, was quite funny. If you see Bwipo, his reaction, his cam, speaking to your point, Sean, about like you're not even sure you're like have cause to be like rah, right, FlyQuest, because just what the fuck were G2 doing?
Yeah.
They did cut to Bwipo's cam after they got the Baron, and he literally, like, you could just see him. It's like, you can't see what words he's saying, but he's like basically just like keck Wing. But the one I'm thinking of is there was the moment when fuck. I'm gonna get technical for a second, but I really want to paint this picture because God, it was so rough. I felt so bad for Skimon. He had to flash out of the pit because he was going to die. Like Varus just walks up to him. It's literally flash out of the pit, right? And like distance yourself from Baron or just die. Die on the spot, right? Because it wasn't low enough to smite it. So he flashes out of the pit, and then it's just Bwipo and Varus left in the pit. And if you actually watch the Maokai, right, Skimond, he just walks to the edge of the Baron pit. Everything is out of range. He can't Q back in. He can't flash back in because he used it. There's no cone. So in an effort to steal the Baron, he throws a sapling into the pit. Just throws a fucking a Maokai E. And you just see the little like sapling just land as the Varus Q just takes the Baron. And I watched that and I was like, that is so sad. Yeah. That is so fucking brutal. Like, I don't know. And I'm not laying it at his feet. Like that's not his fault. He got crunched in that fight. It's just like, oh,
kudos to him for trying something.
At least he tried something, bro.
You gotta try. Listen. In season 3, Ajana stole Baron with a rank 1 tornado. It has happened, but
it would have been
in the replay.
Sick. Yeah.
I think, am I remembering correctly, in the replay they like zoomed in on the sad Maokai on the other side of the wall as the Baron got taken. It was brutal.
He was stationary.
Very hard to watch.
Like the hardest part is he was literally just standing. He's just
nothing
like,
for me to do.
What the fuck can I do except throw?
I have no way to get back over the wall. I guess there's a world where someone like messes up and gets too close to the wall and he can W back in, but he just has to stand there. Yeah.
Exactly. Like that's what he was, which is obviously what he was waiting for. By the way. But...
I know Sean and I briefly talked about it, and that the Western games are like generally slower, but like literally like the game time between both game 1 and 2 were like only 7 seconds apart. Like, so it could have gone very much either way for like either game 1 or game 2. I think it was just FlyQuest was slowly rolling away, but I think that game 3 was like an absolute smashing, spanking, like slapping, and it wasn't. It was just.
I mean, they just
it
looked
was
so
embarrassing.
defeated by that point, right?
Yeah.
Game 3
G2.
was a
Yeah.
collapse.
But
There's no question.
didn't we interview? Was
Inspired?
it when we interviewed Inspired? It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
game 1 and 2, you could tell they had a
Yep.
plan, and then by game 3, it's like they were so defeated mentally that they couldn't really get back into the game.
So
Inspired told us that like in the cons, like in the moments in games 1 and 2, although from like a viewer perspective, it did feel like FlyQuest was in control for a lot of those games, that they didn't feel like they were winning. They felt like this game's really close. Like we have to play well. We got to find ways to generate leads, and we got to play our best, and make sure that we're able to close out this game. Like in the moment, it didn't feel like they were ahead. But that in game 3, obviously, game 3 was just a total collapse by G2.
So something that we were going to talk about on the show is like the musterings of the G2, exactly what Danny proposed last week, which was the G2 super team, basically, like, or the EU super team, not the G2 super team, but like
regardless of what org it's on.
Yeah, regardless of the org, we only assume G2 because like they're sort of the org, and also because they have caps,
They have
and
the
as
money
it stands right now, right? But the one we saw was I mean, Sean, I'm kind of calling in you here, like, because I saw it, but I'm trying to remember if I remember it correctly. It was like JoJo, like Mickey X, Upset, right? Is like that. These are like the stirrings for.
Yeah. I don't know about what they're going to do in terms of their next roster. I mean,
they have to do something.
Are you telling me you've seen rumblings that an idea that they would replace Caps with JoJo? Is that what you're saying?
No. Just to be clear, I was not suggesting that they're replacing Caps with JoJo, but that rather that there is like an EU roster being built. I know that Seb, you
I see.
Yeah, I know, like, we were talking about this actually came up from Cajal, because like on his stream, he like, and this goes into hand in hand of like, he literally in the middle, I think, of the MCOI series is like, okay, we need emergency call with Europe. Everyone get together, build super team. And we're just like, I think it was also Sean and I were talking about, sorry about the accent, it was terrible.
It was becoming Russian.
That was awful.
Apparently.
That was like really bad.
That's not what he sounds like.
Not even.
That was wild, actually.
First t-shirts for this podcast should just say that's not what he sounds like. That's our merch. Yeah.
But I'm known for it. It's I can't do accents for shit, except an Australian accent. I can barely do that well.
Keep trying.
Because every time I do Matt, I try to do Matt's accent. It's always just like the heaviest Australian accent you've ever heard. But no, Cajal was going off about how like we need to have like an emergency meeting in Europe. We need to make a super team. And we're just thinking of I think in the press room we were talking about like who was going to be like the best in each position of like if you were to build like a European super team, what would it look like? And then some different streamers talked about it. And yeah, like Upset came, Mickey came up, JoJo, whether or not you still consider him one of the best in position. Caps is also around. Like, they were talking about it on the desk as well, if I remember correctly, in that like there is just a case of it's gotten too much, it's gotten too much of like with the amount of talent that Europe have around that there's no reason that it's just like you perform this badly to the point you're getting last place at MSI.
Yeah. Just feels like at some point, like it's what Danny said last week, right? Which is like at some point, it's almost like org antagonisms have to be laid to the side, like the Fnatic G2 rivalry, and at some point there needs to be this like handshake agreement of like we need to build a fucking team.
Yeah, but then always in the back of my mind is when we have these like super team conversations, whether it's Counter-Strike, whether it's League, whether it's traditional sports, the only time it seems to work is in fucking basketball. So what if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
After all, like that's my thing. It's just like, what if you're just shit? What if you guys just aren't good enough?
Well, the last time Europe made a super team, Caps left Fnatic and joined G2, and Perks and Caps united on a G2 team in 2019, and that was the last time Europe committed to a super team of the caliber that you guys are talking about, and that was the best European team in history by far.
Yeah.
Sure,
So, I mean, there are so many examples of failed teams, but I also what I think about League, and I think this is increasingly true, is this is a game about individual performances, maybe more than ever before. Like this is a game about if you build a team with the best individuals, often you will win. I have had pros at this event tell me that they think synergy is sort of fake, and that the idea that you need to work together as a team in League is sort of fake,
Oh, that's
because
great
the game is so structured at this point.
Yeah.
And I think at a really high level, obviously at a really, really high level we're talking here, everyone knows how to play team fights. Everyone knows how to make the right decisions. And what you need is incredible individuals. And as long as you have that, you can finesse the mid-game macro. And obviously there's examples of games at the highest level, at this tournament that have been solved by, this team had better rotations, or this team made better decisions in the mid game, or team fighting has been a huge part of MSI. The teams with the best team fighting in the world tend to win. But like the foundation for a lot of the strongest teams, and something that all of the NA and EU players we interview keep telling us about the best Chinese and Korean teams, is that they are just getting gapped individually a lot of the time. And there is a world where, if there's an org in Europe that wants to spend infinite money, that could be a solution. It could be a way to get back into the limelight internationally.
So Sean,
You guys
just so I'm
wanna-
not misrepresenting you, what you're saying is to our young and impressionable audience is that only you matter. Don't communicate with your teammates. This is a This is a single player game.
I mean, all of this is true. Like, yeah,
it's
honestly, no
actually
memes. I know you're memeing,
quite
but
accurate.
like, yeah,
Go ahead.
the game is like designed, Sean. Like, and we've talked about this before, you and I. The game, to some degree, even at the pro level, obviously to a lesser degree in the pro level than any other level of play, but like, I mean, Diamond solo queue is like a single player game. Like, absolutely is. Like, there's just no question, right? Like, you're griefing if you even have text chat on. Like, it's right. I turn pings
Solo
off.
queue is a single player game at every level.
I understand,
It's
and I'm
designed
saying
that
that
way.
the problem now, I feel, I mean, I said problem is maybe an overstatement. Maybe we haven't decided whether this is a good or a bad thing. But the phenomena right now, it feels more than before, is like these individual like gaps, right, feel really pronounced, right? Like the game feels like it's in this like design standpoint where like if you have a top gap, it's really hard to come back from. Like that Bwipo Flandre game, right? The Yorick Mordekaiser one, right? Like it's so brutal. It's so hard to come back into a game when your top laner just runs it down, right? Has a really fucking rough one. And like if there's a jungle gap, really, really hard to make that up, right? I was watching Caps play, and like I'm a bit of a Caps apologist at like all times because I do think he's the best of the West. But like, I think a lot of the struggles he dealt with in that series were because of a jungle diff. Like it's very hard to play mid lane if you don't have a jungler who's excellent, right?
Yeah.
And like I just think it would be like completely reasonable for Taps to tap, type in all chat, right? Like GG jungler noob, please report, whatever, right? Like it's like, and I just think that on some level it's like a design thing. You know what I mean? To your point, Sean, about like individual matchups feeling like they matter so much, right?
They definitely do. Well, and I
Yeah.
also think part of it is that this game has been around for a long time. And like I'm certainly not saying that the teamwork aspects of the game don't matter in pro play. Obviously they do.
Yeah.
But most experienced pros have played a lot of team fights in their lives and have an understanding of how they are supposed to play out a given composition. And also, honestly, like we've got good team fighting players in the West. Like we have good team fighting players in North America and Europe. And at this event, something that Seb and I have been talking about, a lot of, especially Korean players, I feel like, have been saying that they feel as though the gap has closed somewhat, and that the Western teams are really scary to them. And it's interesting that people keep saying that. Gumayushi said that in a press conference a few days ago. And it's interesting because like they are blasting the North American and European teams every time they play, right? It hasn't felt close at this tournament, but they're saying to them it feels scary. Like these teams feel like threats. And I think what that comes down to is like in a game where let's say a hypothetical European super team had like a 3K gold lead at 15 minutes, like we're able to play out the early game. They have a 3K lead and they go into the mid game. The Korean teams feel like they could lose that team fight, right? The Chinese teams could lose that team fight at like 20 minutes over, Otacon or whatever, right? It's completely conceivable. But what's happening is it's so rare that a European team or an NA team is getting to 15 minutes with a gold lead. That just doesn't happen. And the reason that doesn't happen is that the Korean teams are just going to blast them individually. The Chinese top laners are just going to blast them individually, like whatever it is. And that seems to be the biggest problem right now internationally for both European and North American teams.
When we interviewed Inspired, I think he said like the one separation between both the like West teams and the Eastern teams is generally in laning, and I think you tend to see that more often than not. Like I think we saw multiple instances where like team fights could really kind of go either way, but you're literally kind of shooting the West, like it's asking the Western teams when you're going to like a mid game or a late game to like, okay, I want you to go into this team fight, but I want you to have a bullet in your foot while you do it and see how you end up, and it's kind of just how it's been.
And it makes sense, honestly, right? And also Inspired, he did an interview, I think it was with Sheep Esports, where he said something to the effect of like, I don't know what my laners are supposed to do. Like, how can Bwipo and Quad get any better, any faster than they are when they rock up to an international tournament? You have a week of scrims, you get to play against the best teams in the world, and you do improve, obviously, but you're going up against players that, wow. Seb just flashbanged himself off screen here. You're rocking up to an international tournament, and the quote that Inspired had in this interview with Sheep was, "You're playing against a mid laner who gets to play Chovy every week. Yeah. Like, how are you supposed to compete with the kind of practice that you're getting in Korea, or even the Chinese teams are able to play? Sometimes on Korean solo queue, they're able to scrim against Korean teams. Sometimes we know that does happen." So you have this incredibly high level of practice all year round. And everyone always says when they get to international tournaments and they play against the best Korean team or they play against the Chinese teams, they always say they'll punish us for things that no other team will punish us for, right? Yep. And that's because like the level of play, the level of laning in solo queue, in scrims, in the lower tier leagues in China and Korea are at such a higher level. And actually, we can maybe you guys want to talk about this as well. This kind of brings us to another team that's been interesting at this tournament, which is CFO. And my kind of pet theory about CFO, which is a Taiwanese team, is that although they are playing in a region that is far less competitive, they are geographically so close to China and Korea that you have the opportunity to play on solo queue in other regions. You have the opportunity maybe to scrim Chinese and Korean teams, maybe especially now that they've proven they're a real threat internationally. They might be able to get some of these scrims. And I think that gives CFO players, like especially a Honkyu, who's only 18, like that kid has the chance to turn into a absolute fucking monster in 4 or 5 years, because he could, if he wants, like make an account on Korean solo queue and play against Chovy. And I think, or scrim against Chovy conceivably, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. The best take I've actually seen so far, like, was the Faker, the pre like BLG trash talk, right? The like, I think this, and the best thing I've seen so far was like literally rewatching the interview after the BLG series and people being like, guys, I don't know if it was like trash talk. Like, I don't know. I think, like, it's Faker's Faker. That's just who his personality is, like, very unique, right? And he, like, may have literally just been sitting there being like, yeah, like, I think the next series is just, like, going to be easier. Like, I just think, like, we you know what I mean? Like, we know this team. We've played against this team. CFO's scary as fuck. Like, right? Like, and I saw someone seriously making this case, being like, I think he was just being analytic. He was just being objective, that he thought it would be, right? Like, yeah, it's funny that it goes both ways, though. Like, I saw Inspired gave a quote earlier in the tournament when they lost, right? Where he said, it's just so hard because in EU, right, in NA, in EU, like, you don't get punished for things you get punished for by these teams, right? Like we are, like, we can like, we clap a G2, right? This was before they played G2, right? But it's like, we can clap a G2 because, like, they just, like, we're punishing them for stuff, but, like, then we go play the Eastern teams, and, like, we just get, like, we're getting punished. You don't even know you don't know. Like, they're just, right, like, that's why the losses are so miserable, right? But we got to talk about, I mean, we can talk a little bit more CFO, because I think that they are kind of becoming like the darlings.
Oysters, right?
Yeah, the flying
oysters.
Talk about CFO. Let's talk about CFO, because they have sort of become, NA pride aside, our NA FlyQuest fandom aside, they have become sort of the darlings of the tournament, right?
There is a quote, and I'm going to find the correct quote in a Discord thread here that I'm scrolling, but the Flying Oysters, the CTBC Flying Oysters, put out a tweet at the beginning of the year with their slogan for the year, which I'm going to read to you now. One of our colleagues in the press room put this in a Discord earlier this week. As long as there is heart, an oyster can become a hero. And I think that's beautiful. I think,
You know what's crazy?
think,
I've been saying that. I've been saying that for years, and no one has ever batted an eye.
Yeah.
That's fucked.
and I,
Dude, there's actually so many, like, so Dexerto also put out another thing where I guess they put out a tweet saying a LoL player decided to go pro because his grandmother journeyed to a Taoist temple to ask a god if he would be successful. That deity said yes, and Junja has been the MVP of his region for 2 years straight as one of the world's best junglers, who currently plays on CFO. And I'm like, bro, not only do they have the best tagline for a team in the world, but they also apparently have the fucking mandate of heaven on their side. Okay,
divine intervention on their side.
Yeah. So did you guys
Like,
see the
literally.
Cage roll? I posted it in our Slack. But you guys see the Cage roll retweet? He said they literally have the power of the gods. We have Poby.
what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I think, like, jokes aside, this has been one of the most exciting stories to watch in International League this year. I don't know how many people watched First Stand, but at First Stand, CFO showed up as a huge dark horse and immediately started absolutely wrecking shit and taking games off of many of the best teams in the world. They made it all the way to the semifinals where they played K-Corp, and they 2-0'd K-Corp in Swiss. And then eventually they played this really close back and forth 5-game series against K-Corp and lost 3-2, and K-Corp went to the finals. But, like, this is a team that 5 months ago went into a tournament, and by their own admission, they're saying this in interviews, they went into that tournament not expecting to take games. They went into that tournament thinking that they were an underdog, because that's what everyone was telling them. And it's been a long time since there was a Pacific representative that was really, really strong. And then they immediately found out they were way better than they thought they were. And going into this tournament, I think it was Driver told Seb on Media Day that everyone thinks that they can overrate them, but maybe it's time the teams start actually being afraid of CFO. And I think it's time the teams start being afraid of CFO. This team is scary as hell. And I think when it comes to the individuals and all these things we've been talking about today, they have excellent pieces. I think that you've seen Hongq go head to head with literally like some of the best players in the world. He took Faker to 5 games. And in many of the games against T1 that they won, it was because Hongq was gapping Faker. And that is like not a sentence I expected to be saying this week. It's crazy. So, I mean, they had a very, very convincing series against MKOI and eliminated MKOI, who's the #1 European seed from the tournament. And I think this team is getting better at a pace that is terrifying, because 3 months ago, 4 months ago at First Stand, whenever it was, they got to play the best European team in a 5-game series, and it was really close, and they got edged out. And 4 months later, they come to another international tournament. They're actually, I think they're the only team that played at First Stand that got to play at MSI, and they obliterated MKOI. Honestly, it was very, very convincing.
Yeah,
Can I tell you guys real quick why Driver's my favorite league player right now?
Okay.
Is it
tell
because
us.
of his abs?
I already know.
No, it's not. It's not because of its abs. Okay. First off, name's Driver, cool. But secondly, they're handing out these fans at the event, right, where they do for different teams or whatever. And on Driver specifically, he had the number 86, and they had a chalk outline of a Toyota 8086. And so I immediately like neuron activated. I'm like, this guy's a fucking Initial D fan, dude. This guy knows. And on his jersey, on the back, he has 86 as well. So I'm waiting for the day when I can interview him again. And I'm like, are you an Initial D fan? And then he's gonna be like, yeah. And he'd be like, that's so fucking sick that we're both Initial D fans at the same tournament, because we're such a rare breed nowadays. Sorry. Very niche anime reference to our audience who may or may not know. That's all I care about.
I don't think it
It's
is.
not niche. I'm not even a weeb. I know it.
Yeah. Well, I did slam. Sorry, I did. Yeah. But I don't know, man. Like it's cool. This team's honestly sick. I think like they won a lot of people over. Someone also pointed out that Hong Q was like 6 years old when Faker first won his world championship or something, which is
Yeah, he would have been 6. He was
terrifying.
born. This kid was born in 2007. He turned 18 like a week ago. It's insane. Like he is a kid. And and he absolutely took Faker to town. It's crazy.
This guy was born when Halo 3 came out.
That's a depressing thought.
Yeah.
It's Doggo, right? Is the ADC?
Yes, Doggo's
Yeah.
their ADC.
Yeah, he's really, because Guma said this. Guma said that he felt that there was like almost no gap right between them in the lane. He said he felt that it was like a very challenging matchup, and that he felt
Doggo
like,
and Doggo and Kaiwing really pressured them, honestly, in that series. And that's another matchup where, like I said, the individual pieces are falling into place. That's another matchup where, I mean, again, T1 were able to clutch it out. And in the end, game 5 specifically was really one-sided for T1. But like Doggo got a pentakill in the series.
Yep.
He literally got a pentakill against T1 in a team fight that started getting flash-E'd by a fucking Thresh. It's crazy. So I think it's like important to say that these players are relatively early in their careers, and they are only getting better and better. Doggo specifically has been to an MSI before, but it was under a weird circumstance where he was like on loan to this team from the team he was currently signed to. And I think Emily Rand said on the broadcast that he had been saying that he felt as though he hadn't earned that MSI because he didn't actually qualify. Like he just got like loaned into the team to fill this weird hole that opened up. And obviously that MSI didn't go nearly as well for him. But each of these players has been improving so rapidly this year. And also, this is a team that is playing a 6-man roster, which is really interesting. They have 2 top laners, and Driver told Seb in that interview earlier this week that basically he believes that he can't play hard champions. And so when they need to play hard champions, Rest gets subbed in. That's how Driver explained the difference. And Driver obviously is like a Sion and Gragas enjoyer. We know he's a fan of the Baus. He's been spotted watching like Baus and Cadril streams. He's just this guy that likes this sort of peculiar type of champion. And I think it's really dope. Something really cool about Fearless and about the current system in International League is in other eras, a player like that would be considered a liability sometimes.
Yeah.
If someone is a specialist in League, in pro play, historically, maybe you get 1 or 2 patches where your champions are really strong. Like Zeka comes to mind. He was really criticized for this in 22 for only playing like Silas and Akali, right? And he was criticized for years and years after that. Dude's literally a world champion, but people were like, it's only because the meta favored him. In the past, players like this have been seen as liabilities. Driver gets to be a specialist. He gets to be an initial defan. He gets to we don't know that, but I want to believe that. That's my headcanon. He gets to drift on Sion and do these crazy plays and outplay 2v1s on Gragas or whatever. And then when they want to play a different champion, they just sub in Rest, and Rest comes in and plays Ambessa or whatever. And I think that has been really interesting to watch. And I think historically, 6-man rosters in League haven't worked. Like these teams have usually had issues with synergy or had issues with finding a way to click in all these different situations. And for some reason, the CFO team just works super well. And I mean, you asked Junja the same question, I think, Seb, and Junja said that it was fine, that he didn't have an issue like playing towards either of the top laners. And I think every series they've played at this tournament, both top laners have started in at least one game, which is really cool. It's been really exciting to watch.
Well,
you know what's crazy?
Yeah.
People who were born in 2010 are 30 years old now.
Sure.
Are you cooked?
Guys,
what?
We've been talking about League for too long. He's fucking fried. He's absolutely cooked. We would be remiss if we did not talk about. I can't believe we're talking about an international tournament, and it's taken us this long to talk about Faker and T1. I'm actually proud. I'm actually proud that we've managed to. It actually, to not meme for a second. I think it was Travis Gafford who tweeted it. He just tweeted like a couple days ago before things really took off. He just tweeted like, I think this is shaping up to be like one of the best international events ever. And like a lot of people in the comments were like, yeah, like this event is sick. Like this is great.
Yeah.
And like it has it all. You've got the NA run. EU fans are in the fucking mud. I don't think EU fans would agree with that. But NA is on the right, like on the run right now. Obviously, you have this crazy underdog story in CFO, and you got Gen G as like the villain-esque favorites, and then we got Faker fakering, brother. Faker's doing the faker thing. T1 is T1ing. I was gonna mention it earlier, Sean, to your point about the individual synergy thing. I think that like the one time you really see it take over is like there have been these fights, man, the T1 take, where like someone gets gone on, someone gets popped, someone gets flash initiated on, and then like the fucking Avengers just assemble. Carrier just materializes out of the nothingness, and then just that turn happens in only the way that T1 can do, right? Which is just like Faker is like dead, like by all accounts dead, and then somehow, some way, they just turn it, and not only do they turn the fight, but all 5 members of T1 live. And like they haven't done it once, they haven't done it twice, they've done it like half a dozen times now at this event. And I think like to the point earlier about like when does team synergy become a thing, right? With this team, it is. Like undeniably it is. Even with Doran, it is. And like the thing is though, is that they are the 3-time consecutive world finalist, 2-time back-to-back winner, right? Like they have that X factor that like literally no other team in the world has, where when they are feeling themselves, it is like terrifying. Like I don't know how the fuck.
Yeah.
I said it in my joke to my react this morning, but like good luck to literally every other team at this event, Gen G included, because like I have no idea what the fuck you're gonna do when this team is feeling themselves.
I've kind of come to a theory for this, and I think that it's down to like you have so many people that want to kill Faker's aura that it just baits everyone in the server to come and try and kill Faker. The problem is that now he has 4 teammates that are also getting aura, and that just immediately counter all that shit. And
Did you see that?
Come to save Faker's ass like 20 times.
That play, Sean, the one I'm thinking of specifically, the top lane on Victor when they pounced on him and Doran TP's behind them as Ornn. And like, it's a good play, don't get me wrong. But like, you can just tell they were so tunnel visioned on killing Faker that like they just genuinely like didn't see him. Like obviously they're high level pro players. Of course they have mini maps. Like I'm sure they saw the TP animation, but he just like walked up behind 3 of them and then just hits this Ornn ult, and they're so right. Like you can just tell there is this thing where they're like, he's 2.5 levels ahead. He was really farmed on Victor that game, to be fair. It was a really high level kill to get Faker, but like aura aside, but like I think it's a thing. I really do. Like I don't know. Like it's just this team is like they're doing the thing, and I think people are like afraid.
It's really interesting because like T1 at this tournament, I keep saying, and I mean, actually, I haven't really been watching Casual stream because I've been to the event, but I keep saying the thing everyone says about T1, which is they can't keep getting away with it. How do they keep getting into these situations? How do they keep being so behind or in this impossible scenario, and they just clutch it out every single time internationally? It just feels like this team is never out. And that has been true of T1 for several years. And yes, it's the reason they won back-to-back world championships. But what's really interesting about T1 to me is for all of this year, the story has been that magic is gone and that it's over because Zeus left. We've brought in Doran. Gumiyushi's being subbed in and out for Smash. There's so much strife behind the scenes. And it seems as though this team is no longer able to do that anymore. They don't have this magical clutch factor. They're not all like in each other's brains, like perfectly ready to react to every single little micro movement. And then we rock up to this tournament and they're just doing it again. And I think it turns out that T1 didn't have any problems this year. They just have the best fucking script writers on staff. And they are just always ready to gift us the best narratives going into international tournaments. It's crazy. They got premium script writers for sure. And I mean, Dimitri, earlier this year, you and I were in a Slack thread where we were talking about T1. And I said it's really actually over. And you said you know that they're going to win because you feel like it really is actually over this time.
Yes.
And I mean, here we are. Here we are. It's impossible. It makes
I have
no
the
sense.
receipts.
It
I have the
defies
Slack
all
messages.
logic.
Yeah.
It defies
That's
all logic. But T1 have looked very shaky all year. And yes, they have incredible individual players. And we talked about incredible individuals. And that was enough for them to be like third or fourth in the LCK, which is nothing to sneeze at. But they were so far from being this like clear best team in the world that they have been many times in the last 2 years. And they show up to this tournament and they're just playing like ZOFGK, but it's DOFGK and it doesn't seem to matter. And Doran was interviewed after their most recent series on stage and asked, right, what do you think about the T1 magic? And he basically said that, he didn't say it in these words, but effectively Doran is part of that. And he has found a way to click with the T1 system. And Doran is a player who has never won an international tournament, by the way. He's super good. He's won a ton of domestic titles, but the story has always been that he shows up internationally and he can't win. And I think somehow T1 has done the impossible thing where they fit Doran into this system and they managed to make him into the final version of himself. Like, this is Doran's final form, and he's finally on the same page with his teammates. He's finally clicking at an international tournament. And it's not like the four other amazing players on this team are carrying Doran at all. If anything, Faker has kind of had a shaky tournament at some points, Dimitri, right? And like you said, many of these players are starting with Faker dying or something. And Doran has hard carried multiple games at this tournament. So has Owner, Guma and Carrier. Carrier has actually had some monster performances. But Doran is absolutely part of it. And it's crazy. It's impossible. And I guess that's just T1. They just always do impossible things.
The last thing I'll say, I mean, this team they are world's merchants. You were interviewing Atlas last year, and I remember he said it seriously, like 100%, right? Like, this was at the stage of Worlds where people were still doing the thing where they were like, I mean, surely T1, and he's full self-serious. He was like, this is their element. He's like, I'm not worried about them at all. He's like, they come here, there's this smell in the air, and they just I've said it for years. You can't let T1 into a bracket. Don't let them into a bracket stage. If they get out of groups, right? They'll finish third LCK. They sneak their way into the international event. Then they sneak their way, and then the second they get into those quarterfinals, they smell blood in the water, and it's like FaZe and Counter-Strike. It's just fucking over.
Yeah.
It's fucking over. They will just right. You give Faker Silas, give him one flash, one hex belt, and he'll make a play, and that's the series, right? But I don't know if they can win MSI, because if they win MSI, then I don't know if they can win Worlds. They are Worlds merchants. They're not MSI merchants. They actually have
they haven't won MSI in a long time. Yeah. 8
fucking years or something, whatever the hell it is. But we should wrap up the MSI talk, but we have to end with one last round trip, which is predictions on who's going to win. So we'll start with Devin.
FlyQuest.
FlyQuest?
I'm just going to say it. Fuck it. Sorry, I'm lying down because I'll never get a chance to do this again.
Some real paint me like one of your French girls energy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
Oh, that's a good. That's
bro.
a good fucking image
That's
right
great,
there.
actually.
The legs, dude.
All right, FlyQuest.
Yeah. Also, if you could, I just want the drippiest team to win.
Yeah.
And I think those might be the best jerseys in esports history.
That green is nice.
Even the
It looks
FlyQuest
so
red
much better in
is-
person.
Oh, yeah.
By the
Even
way.
FlyQuest red. If you guys can get your hands on one for me, because they sold out at Austin, at the Austin Major. Either an XL or if it's EU sizes, then just do a double XL just in case it shrinks on me in the wash, and just put it
Gotcha,
on Matt's
bro.
card. Thanks.
Yeah, okay.
We're just taking your clothing order here? What the?
Yeah, just on
no,
Matt's
no,
card.
you know what? I requested this. It's fine.
So Seb, who's gonna win?
I gotta go T1.
Okay.
There's the team fights that I saw shouldn't have been possible, and I continue to believe this. That being said, I mean, Genji's looking like a monster, and I still think
Nope. You had it right the first time.
but
yourself.
I do think genuinely I think T1's gonna win. I would love if FlyQuest won, because Moss is Canadian, but my copium only goes so far. So
All right, Sean,
Mike,
give it to me.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you guys are all going with the insane heart predictions here. Like, someone has to say Gen G is going to win MSI because Gen G is going to win MSI. Like, all these cool narratives are happening, and Gen G hasn't lost a series in 21 series. I'm pretty sure that's the number right now. And they have the best player in the world, who's Chovy. We have done multiple interviews at this tournament where the best players in the world have said the crazy thing about Chovy is he is at the peak and he just keeps getting better. Canyon told us in an interview that he used to believe that pro players hit a peak where they couldn't improve anymore. And Chovy proved that that's not true because Chovy doesn't have a peak. His coach told us in an interview that he's limitless. This guy is insane. And he is getting better every like 2 to 3 months. He just keeps getting better and better and better. And this team is like looks unstoppable. They have been a brick wall for T1 all year domestically. And yes, we've heard that story before. And yes, they beat them at Worlds. But like this is
impression.
This is the stiffest competition that a team like T1 could face. I think the upper bracket finals have a good chance of also being the grand finals. And we might see T1 Gen G twice. Honestly, they both look crazy strong. Because of the LCK format, we did not get to see T1 and Gen G play for first seed like at peak. So it really is like we don't know how the series is going to go. But like someone has to project Gen G here. Gen G are absolutely the odds-on favorite. They have the best player in the world. They have the best laning. They have the best team fighting. They have the best macro decision making. Like this team is supposed to win MSI. So if something else happens, it will be more exciting for the video I get to write. So don't get me wrong. I'm not necessarily cheering for them, but you got to predict Gen G.
I'm actually changing my answer to Driver because he's an initial D fan. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Well,
Driver specifically is going to win MSI actually by himself.
Yes.
Yeah, just by himself.
Yeah.
He's good at gas, bro. Like, you know.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go CFO just because.
Oh, okay.
That's
Great.
my But I do think that if Gen G beat T1 in the next series, I think Gen G are gonna win. I almost said win TI. Gen G are gonna win TI.
We are in Vancouver.
100%. Yeah. Well, that's it for our MSI talk. We can allow our lovely pickled showered guests to return to their jars and.
That's a good one. Return to your jar.
Yeah, but when does the game start? Like couple hours?
5 Pacific.
Yeah.
So 8 your
8
time.
p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, it'll be going on basically. This episode will go up and basically it'll start shortly
Yeah,
after.
sorry.
All right, well, thank you, lads, for joining us. Really appreciate it, and
Cheers, boys.
enjoy the games.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thank you guys.
See you guys.
Fucking.
I'm sorry to sit there and listen to that league talk for all that time,
Just
bro.
fucking Yap City. Holy shit. No, it was good. I did actually watch the FlyQuest.
You have to, bro.
It was
When NA plays, you got.
Yeah, it's cool to see.
It's like when C9. It's like when C9 played the Boston Major Final.
Yeah.
My Dota friends watched.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
League friends watched. Like you got to show up for NA. Like that's just
Absolutely.
a
It
lot.
was a lot.
That was a lot.
That was a
brother.
lot. But it is the only thing that's going on, to be fair.
It is literally the only fucking thing that's going on. But there is some stuff going on in general gaming.
Yeah.
Your domain.
My domicile.
Yeah, I'm not a general gamer. I'm an e-gamer.
Mm.
Not the same thing.
No.
I fucking wish I was not an e-gamer, brother. Let me tell you.
Let me tell you.
Let me tell you, dog. But
So we're gonna talk about Death Stranding again.
Yeah, so this week on our Death Stranding 2
Yeah.
podcast. So yeah, there people are trying to kill games.
Yeah. Okay. I have all. Should I set the scene?
Just set the
Stage.
scene, brother.
Okay,
Take
so,
me there. I'm definitely go. I'm gonna close my eyes and let me go there with you.
Pirate Software.
Yep.
He's back in the news after because you remember all the shit happened with him roaching out, as they say in Warcraft in a raid.
Yes.
And some people died, and they blamed him, and he took no responsibility, and then that caused an issue, and blah blah blah. Before that, he was kind of like this like infallible figure, like he was just like, you know, he just popped off on YouTube Shorts.
I remember that. I would see like TikToks of him.
It'd be like him explaining how like, you know, securities work for like games and shit like that.
And people like took it as like gospel.
Yeah, and I was
You know
just
what I
like,
mean?
okay, whatever. You know, that's his. You know,
It's
I'm
his
not
thing.
gonna yuck his yum. That's his. That's the game he's playing.
Yep.
And but then this kind of like I guess maybe showed like maybe more of an arrogant side to him, which like you don't see in those like carefully crafted YouTube Shorts, right? Like Like, I'm a fucking asshole. but you guys don't see that shit. But it kind of blew over. I think, like, eventually maybe he apologized, and the WoW craze kind of died off. But there's been this initiative called Stop Killing Games, and forgive me, I don't remember the guy who started it. I don't know his name, but generally the idea is that games are like, it's a sort of shitification mixed with like actual bad practices. Ubisoft, EA, and at the heart, it is about how, in reality, we aren't buying games anymore. We are buying what is more like a license to play the game for a unspecified amount of time until the developer decides we don't want to support this game anymore. You know, gone are the days where you would buy. Not always. It's not always the case. There are still Halos and Bioshocks of the world where you can keep playing the game to your heart's content. But as games continue to be more and more online, or you have these MMOs where you're putting money into this game, and then at any period the developer can just be like, we're done with this game. We're taking the servers offline. You know, Concord, for example. You know, people bought that game, and obviously I think it was within the time frame where they were allowed to refund. But if you aren't, and the game's like out for like a year, and then they're like, all right, this only online, you know, arena or like hero shooter is now gone, and you're like, well, what the fuck? I bought that game.
Yeah.
Like, what happened to it? And for me, my personal take on it is that, like, I agree with this fight to sort of get them to stop, like, killing games, because I get, like, the idea of lost media makes me, like, anxious.
Yeah.
Less about, like, me being like, oh, I bought this. Like, this is, like, my right because I paid money for this. That obviously is true, but, like, I'm going to buy shit regardless because, like, I'm just a degenerate gamer.
Yeah.
My issue is, like, yeah, the idea of lost media. Like, what do you mean I'll never be able to play this again? So the Stop Killing Games initiative is basically to change laws. I think in Europe is where they want to change it, or maybe it's
I believe it's, yeah.
because they think that might influence the rest of the markets across the world to kind of force their hand to make it so that games have to have or developers have to have some sort of like end of life plan.
Yeah.
So, and one of the big things is like for a game turning over the properties to like the fandom, I think is and the big thing about this entire drama right now is misrepresentation of what Stop Killing Games is. So forgive me if I misrepresented it all. But I believe that's like the gist of what it is that like there needs to be some sort of like, you can't just kill a game. You can't just be like, this game's done. You never actually owned it, because, you know, I think The Crew is like a big one they bring up where people were playing this game and it's there's a full map that you could just race around and they're like, oh no, this is only online. So like, we're cutting the cord. Now you can't play anymore. And people are like, I fucking bought this game. What do you mean I can't play anymore? I just want to drive around. Like, I don't want to play multiplayer. Like, I just want to fucking drive the cars that and the stuff shit I spent money on. So that's completely understandable. Now, obviously there are issues that come into it. I'm not going to get into all of them, but there's like obviously licensing and stuff like that. Like, you know, if you're supposed to if you're handing it over, what about the music in the game, right?
Yes.
Like, how does that work? Like, you know, if it's a racing game, if those cars are licensed and stuff like that, I don't know. Like, maybe it is thought out in their plan. But that is not the story here. The story here is that Pirate Software did a sort of reaction video, maybe multiple reaction videos to it, where he seemingly misrepresented, like, I wouldn't say, you know, what I would say, like, the perfect term for what he did is he, like, was, like, incredibly, what's the word? Like, not disingenuous. Like, he misrepresented it, essentially, saying that, well, what are these, like, this is insane. Because what are these companies going to do if it's an MMO? They have to now make a single player for it, which is not what they're arguing.
Yeah.
Because I think the idea he was using is like, you take a game like WoW, and they're like, we don't want it. We can't do this anymore. But the law says that we have to now turn this into a single player experience.
Yes.
Which Pirate Software is saying that's ridiculous, because of course it's ridiculous. But that is not what the initiative is saying at all.
Yes.
They're like, no, it needs to, like. I think the argument is that it should be passed on. It should become open to the public, essentially.
Yeah.
Open to the people that play the game, open to the community to do what they want with this game that you no longer want to support. You no longer want to support it, that's fine. we didn't pay for you to support this game forever. We paid for the game. So at the very least, give us the game and we will do what we please with it. Right? And if nothing comes out of it, nothing comes out of it. I think that's the argument. But then Pirate Software comes in saying, like, how are you going to expect a game to create a single player? Or what if it's an indie game that's a multiplayer indie game, and now because of these arbitrary laws, they now have to make a single player for this that they can't afford. So that now this company's just not going to be able to make the game, which is like not what they were saying. And it created this issue that was, fair enough. And the guy who started the initiative, clapped back and did his own thing. And then Critical reacted to it and whatever. I'm like, okay, whatever. That's fair enough. Like, it has gone so fucking out of control now where, like, it's just basically, like, what happened with the Roach shit just happening again, but now with this stuff where, like, people are just preying on this dude's downfall and making, like, video essay after video essay on how this guy's, like, actually a terrible piece of shit. And I'm just like, listen, content is a game, right? Like, everyone plays their game.
Yes.
Right? And when you do it for a living, you start to understand that as well. But it gets to a point where I'm like, holy shit, dude. Like, do we need to fucking, like, be this, like, insanely, like, cruel in a way, right? Like, and I don't know, maybe people have different opinions on whether or not it's deserved or not because of what he misrepresented in his videos talking about this initiative. But, like, from an outsider looking at it, it makes us seem insane. That we're, like, making, like, video essay after video essay about this guy who had an opinion that we don't agree with. And I know the comments are just going to be like, well, no, it's not about his opinion, it's about him misrepresenting, which I understand. But it just, like...
It just has big, but it's about ethics and games journalism
Yeah.
energy. Like, I'm not actually equating these two. What I mean is the energy of, like, it just feels like every time one of these fiascos happens in general gaming, it, like... It makes us look insane to the world.
Yeah.
It makes us look like cruel and predatory
Yeah.
and, like, unreasonable and just, like, unhealthily obsessed with just, like, tearing a person / an institution down
Yeah.
and in the name
because
of
now
what?
all his game, like, he like, Pirate Software has been, like, attached to, like, I think, like, the like, offline TV or OT, one of them, I don't know, he's associated with like, these game developer, like, with Ludwig and stuff like that, and he's had to, like, step down because they're getting review bombed. Those games are getting, like, mostly negative just because, like, they fucking hate this guy. And I'm just like, this is when we just, like, and it happens every few months where I'm just like, we just seem insane
Yeah, I
to literally
know.
anybody, which maybe it doesn't matter because maybe nobody's actually looking into this,
But it does matter because it matters internally too. Like, you're just like ruining people's lives
And-
in the
and
name
that's-
of, like, what?
That's the thing. So, like, Pirate Software says what he says. He does the video he does. And then the guy claps back and says, no, you're fucking wrong. Like, how dare you misrepresent what we're saying? And I've seen other videos where people have come out with, like, completely fair arguments where, like, oh, this actually might hurt indie games still because they just might not actually have they still might not have the budget to, like, to focus on these end-of-life things. Which I think he's taken as, like, completely fair criticism, being like, yeah, there is criticism for this, but it's about, like, trying to get some change that I agree with. But it's just like, okay, he clapped back. Everyone basically agreed with the clapback. Critical did a video on it, who's one of, like, the biggest fucking React lords on the internet right now. And I'm like, okay. Everyone just says, okay, fuck this guy then. We're going to, jump on and sign this petition and get that flowing. That's brought up its called, like, cachet because of all this drama. And I'm like, okay, let's stop and fucking move on to something else. But then it's like, no, it's like everyone needs to get their piece in. Everyone needs to, okay, what is he? Oh, he works for this company too? Fucking let's shit on that too. And, like, now he's, like, releasing apologies again. And I'm just like, what the fuck are we doing every few months? It feels like it's, to be fair, it's been him, like, back to back. So kind of a tough run he's been going on. And I don't know the guy. Like, whoever it is, it always seems kind of crazy.
Yeah. It does seem kind of crazy. And I feel like the older I get, the crazier it seems.
Now, do you, like, what is your general opinion? Like, do you think that, like, because you play, like you said, like, you're more of an e-gamer.
Yeah.
Like, if one day Riot shuts down League and they're like, there's, like, you can't even, or they shut down Valve shuts down Counter-Strike, and you can't even do fucking Pop Flash. Like, you can't even get 10 mans together. Like, what do you think that's like? Should be against the law? Do you think there should be something in place to make sure that doesn't happen because of your investments into the game, and or a game where you have paid for, like,
And the very simple answer in like a totally just sensible, pragmatic, legalistic mindset point of view is yes, because as gaming shifts from cartridges in a SNES to you can always keep that, put it in your closet, pull it out whenever you want, to this always online phenomenon, right? The laws, the media ownership laws surrounding it, of course, have to change. Like, the law is an organism. The law serves us, not the other way around, right? The law is meant to change as human products and behaviors and interfaces change.
For sure.
And so, in a very, very, like, just simplistic one word, yes. Like, of course, yes. Like, obviously, I'm not saying, I don't know to what degree, because I'm not an expert in obviously, right? Like, in copyright law and like how media ownership is, like I saw someone, maybe it's like a catchphrase or like a mantra for the whole movement. I don't know, but I did see like on Twitter someone just saying, like, in a sort of like, pithy sort of aphoristic way, which, not to say insensible, but just, sort of a summative way, saying if buying a game isn't ownership, then piracy isn't stealing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's just it does become logically inconsistent very fast if, like, I buy a game and it's this always online game like Shroud's game or Concord or whatever the fuck it is, and it dies after a year, and they're like, well, we're shutting the servers down. And I'm like left here. And again, I mean, sometimes it's refunded, but if it's not, like, you're left here being like, I don't think you're allowed to do that. Like, you made a thing, you made a product, and you sold it, and I bought it, right? And there was like an understanding when we bought it, right? And like, I know that the technology around gaming has moved really fast. That is to say, like, the always online thing is like a 20-year-old. I mean, it's like, what, WoW in the mid 2000s, basically, give or take, maybe a little earlier, right? And like, I think that like there needs to be safeguards in place.
My doomer opinion is that, like, okay, like, let's say any of this works. What if it just gets to a point where the developers are like, okay, we'll play ball. Okay, this is a license. You're buying a license to this game, and we're going to say it's going to end in 2028.
Yeah, I think the problem with that is like, I think that if there's, and this is like an old truth, like it's what we were just talking about with the Pirate Software thing. I don't think that developers or publishers should ever get into a battle of chicken with gamers about how fucking psychotic they're willing to be about boycotting a product or not. Like, if you want to not sell a game real fucking fast, that's a great way to do it.
I was more referring to the entire industry. Like, not just like Ubisoft, because like obviously, like, what stock do they have? They don't have a leg to stand on in that regard.
You're saying like the developers band together and decide.
Essentially, they're like, okay, well, this is the new rule now. We're like, we'll just explicitly say that you're buying a license. It already might be explicit for all I know.
Yeah.
That you aren't actually, that games are doing that, right?
I just think like I would be like, they are horrible, awful, toxic creatures, gamers, awful. But I think that like, I would be very hesitant, even a band of developers, or publishers, right? I would be very hesitant to be, you know what I mean, to do a thing where we say we're gonna basically call your bluff, and we think that you guys are down so bad, like that you're all degenerates like Devin, that you're just gonna buy it anyway. Yeah. I don't know if I would take that bet.
Yeah,
I don't know if I would.
It's like the how expensive can you make Grand Theft Auto 6?
Exactly. There is a point. And I think that Rockstar, like, I totally agree with what you're saying, what you've said on the week's past, which is like, they know they can make it 120 and absolutely get away with it. I do think they are also aware of the fact that if they cross that tipping point, it will like plummet, and they will sell, like, it will be the biggest boycott in the history of fucking gaming, and they're going to have to pedal it back and reduce the price by and I just think that like developers are aware of the fact that gamers are lunatics, absolute fucking lunatics, and like we'll do the thing where they make it their entire personality to just destroy your company if you do them wrong.
Yeah, for sure. I think the other thing that Rockstar specifically needs to be careful of, because I think this game is going to make a lot of changes in the industry as a whole. Like,
Yeah.
I think the release of this game and how they decide to do it is going to potentially have ramifications on the price of video games, the services that are being offered through that game, etc. But I also think the thing that they need to be so fucking sure that this is a 10 out of 10 Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
We're going back to back. Because if they charge $140 for this game and it's like something doesn't work
Yeah.
or it's just like kind of ass,
Mid or
and the only way I could see it being ass is that like the world just isn't fleshed out. Like there's nothing, like how I felt when I played Cyberpunk for the first time, where I'm like, this is a big world with nothing to fucking do in it.
Yeah.
And if that's the issue they run into, then they're never living it down.
So speaking of depressing gaming news, Microsoft.
Yeah, was it 9,000 people?
Yeah.
Or something some
like
ridiculous
that.
number.
Yeah.
It's tough. And I found out in like not the funniest way, but it was just like the first thing, rather than the layoffs, I saw the like Perfect Dark remake is like being canceled, and I'm like,
What a
aw.
shit way to find out, dude.
Like, come on. And then the next thing I see like record-breaking layoffs,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, fuck me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mark my fucking words. We will live to see Xbox Game Pass on PlayStation. That's how fucking crazy I think this shit is. Gears of War is on PlayStation now.
Yeah, that's true. Actually.
They've just like fully
Yeah.
given up.
Yeah. I'm actually like immediately like I'm drinking this Kool-Aid as you said the words. I'm like,
It's just like, what else do they have? I
Yeah, I
don't think
know.
they're gonna make consoles anymore.
No. I don't,
Doesn't sound like they care about making games anymore.
No.
So it's just gonna be like, all right, we're just gonna take these games, put them on our fucking Game Pass. It's slowly gonna get shittier and shittier, the games that you're getting, because it's not like, it doesn't seem like, I think it was last year, it was like $2,500 worth of video games you got from Xbox Game Pass.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like for the price of basically a full game is what you're
Yeah.
paying for throughout the year.
Yes.
That doesn't sound like something you can do forever. So I
don't
just
think
feel like the games are gonna get shittier and shittier, and then they're gonna stop making games. They're not making consoles. I thought there was a period where they're gonna start making like an actual like cheap like laptop or PC. Like that's what I thought they were gonna do.
Xbox just becomes a laptop.
It
and
just
comes
becomes
full
like a
circle,
laptop
goes
with
up its own ass.
yeah.
That would be sick, actually.
But yeah. I mean,
would
it
love
sucks.
to see the marketing for that product. I would love to see the fucking trailer for that thing. You know, guys. Here's why actually consoles don't make sense.
Yeah. After decades.
of moving from
Yeah.
PC to console. Do you think? Because I think it's related to are games just becoming way too fucking expensive to make?
Yeah.
Like, is that just this is just a symptom of the fact that games cost an inexorable amount of money
They also take
and take
way
too
too
long?
fucking long to make, and
Yeah.
this will always be my take. And this is why I kind of like it's not that I shut down Concord criticism. The game wasn't good.
Yeah.
But when people are like, what the fuck were they thinking? I'm like, they started making that game like 8 years ago, when of course you want to make a hero shooter. Like that's what was fucking popping.
They started making Valorant. This is like documented. I'm this is from memory, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. It was like during the Columbus Major. Like I think that like
It was when Christopher Columbus discovered.
During the Columbus Major, like Volcano was I'm pretty sure was when they approached Volcano, right?
Yeah.
Like I think about 2016, the height
Yeah,
of
it
like
takes-
NA, like Counter Strike, right? Yeah.
And I say the
And they
same
only
thing
made
about
like
like
4 years.
about like Ubisoft, where like they'll do like an Assassin's Creed because what the fuck else are they gonna do?
Yep.
And then they release like the first look of Assassin's Creed Shadows, and people are like, this looks like shit, and they're like, fuck, we've spent $1 bajillion on this game in 10 fucking years. What are we gonna do? So did they just take or what was that shitty vampire game that came out that I don't even think exists anymore? Redfall or some shit like that. It's just like everyone's like, what happened? I'm like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Be like, I guess you're just not gonna come out with the game now. I think like that's what was the Concord thing, where like they worked on it for like 8 years, and then it gets to the point where like, well, now we have to fucking release it anyway,
Yeah.
just to see if there's a chance that it does well.
Yeah.
But that's what we thought was popping at the time, but we didn't know 8 years later no one was gonna give a fuck anymore about this
Yeah.
genre of games, and I don't know.
It's like they're all 8 years behind, or 7 years
Yeah.
behind, or 6 years behind, and then when they finally come to market, people are like, "Oh, I don't really want this," and the few people who say I do want it don't ever get to play it
Yeah.
because it gets shut down after a
And
year.
I-
Because
And I think Xbox maybe is just being like, yeah, we're just not going to take that risk anymore. We're just going to gobble up other people's games, put it on our pass, send it out, and then we're Netflix for games.
yeah, I mean, honestly, like I think that's a pretty like you can like lease out the back catalog.
Yeah.
You know, it's like literally, it's like one of those things where it's like one of the reasons why, like, you know, whatever streaming service currently has Friends is like always like
Yeah.
has a surge
Yeah.
because people literally just want Netflix or Prime or whatever the fuck it is just to watch The Office,
Yeah.
right? Just to watch Friends, right? And,
Yeah.
and so that single thing, like, I think that with Xbox, there's like totally a world in
Mhm.
which like we
If
could
th-
see.
if they get GTA on
Yeah.
on Xbox Game Pass,
Yeah.
then it's just like, okay,
It's just that's the one that I can play.
Yeah.
I can play like how do I play, you know, the Red Dead Redemption, the first one remastered, like whatever, who has
Yeah.
that one? And I get right like
and in the process, 9,000 people lose their jobs.
yeah, I know. It's
So.
really depressing. The other thing was speaking of, I mean, this isn't really depressing. This is just kind of weird. The Arslan Ash news. Did you hear
So
about
funny.
this?
So funny.
It's honestly, I thought it was a bit. Like I kind of thought this was a bit.
As soon as I saw like the doping thing, and I'm like, oh, that's how he got so big. Because I'm like, it was like out of nowhere. He
It
got like
was.
huge, and I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, interesting.
Yeah,
Whatever.
he got swole.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
He's looking brolic.
yes, absolutely.
And then I saw that, and then I'm like, does that, like, okay, it's a fighting game, but it's not like a fighting game.
Yeah.
Like, what does that matter?
yeah. Is this guy like actually wrapping chains around his hands and going to back alleys at night and just
So
like
correct me if I'm wrong. He got caught doping,
yeah.
but like legitimate like steroids.
As far as I understand, yes. And his excuse was literally like, I was at the gym during the pandemic trying to get fit like everybody else was, and someone offered me like a supplement,
Yeah.
and I started taking them. And
Yeah.
I didn't, as far as I understand, that's like what he's like.
But it's just like, now the question is, does that warrant a ban in a video game?
That is a question that like we are in no way, shape, or form qualified to answer, but we should totally fucking try
Yeah.
on this podcast.
It's-
I like, can you ban a player from a tournament and whatever for like taking anabolic steroids
That's the thing.
or like right?
like as I got older, I started to find out, and for the people watching, as you get older, you'll start to find out that like a lot of people just do steroids.
Yes.
They just do it because it's a faster, like, for when you're working out specifically for your physique.
Yep.
The average human is going to hit a wall where the look of their physique isn't going to change, especially if they have a desired outcome, right? And if they just hit a wall where like my legs aren't going to get any bigger, just genetically they're not going to get bigger. My tricep, like, it's just not. Move on to anabolic steroids or something of the sort, or insane amount of protein with some other random shit in it that's probably anabolic steroids. and like that, like there are like
Yeah.
influencers on YouTube and TikTok where they're like, yeah, no, I do steroids.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, okay, I don't think it's good. I would never do them. You shouldn't do them. I don't think it's good for you. I think the people that take them will tell you not to fucking take it.
Yeah.
Uh,
A lot of people take it out of necessity, and by necessity I mean like because like, you know, in pro sports, because they have like a salary riding on it.
Yeah.
Because right, like they're not doing it. Trust me, they're not doing it because they want to.
Yeah.
They're not doing it because like it's fun and healthy.
Yeah.
Like this isn't like.
but then it just like, so he's just doing it because he.
I don't know, man. I have no idea. Apparently,
But why did
some
he get
guy-
banned?
I don't know.
It's like unrelated.
It's so weird.
Because like
It's
you
the
think about dope and you're like,
craziest
oh,
thing.
he's like on fucking like, 80 milligrams of fucking Ritalin.
Yeah, I
Just
know.
like-
yeah, like
I'd be like, okay, fair enough, I guess.
I guess,
Like,
yeah, I guess.
but then I mean, like, who doesn't have like probably what fucking pro gamer probably doesn't have like an ADHD diagnosis where they're just like they just I
Yeah,
don't
they
know.
can just take whatever
can
they
just
want. I mean,
take
the
whatever
biggest
they
argument
want.
against performance-enhancing drugs of any kind has actually not, as far as I know, been like it. It sullies the game and like whatever, right?
Yeah.
Because there's the argument that goes back as old as time, which is like, well, if everybody does it, then it's still a level playing field.
Yeah.
Which, like, fair enough. Because like
Yeah.
there have been periods in like professional baseball, cycling, where like
They're all on steroids.
all on steroids, right? The reason that the ban, like, you can actually enforce it ethically, philosophically, is it's just better for the health of the athletes.
Mhm.
In other words, if you make it so that none of them have to do steroids, you're not going to have a 22-year-old footballer have a fucking heart attack on
Yeah.
a soccer pitch. 22 years old, has
Yeah.
collapses in cardiac arrest, right? Because steroids gone wrong, took to whatever, right? The dose, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, so that argument I can get behind,
Yeah, for
which
sure.
is people are killing themselves.
dangerous.
It's literally dangerous. Fucking stop. No one does it. We all agree that you're banned if you get caught.
Yeah.
Does the same apply to, like, are people out there trying to take steroids to get fucking real sick at Tekken? Probably not.
Yeah.
I don't know, though. He is the GOAT. So, like, I mean,
Maybe they worked.
maybe it worked. He
Maybe
is
they-
literally, like,
They literally discovered something new.
I
Where
don't
they're
know,
like, oh,
dude.
actually, steroids makes you better at video games.
I hope to God that we're not saying that, just
We're
to
not,
be clear.
we're not.
And like, I hope to God that's not the takeaway for anyone here. But I just like, maybe that's why there's a ban. Maybe because they feel that, like, you know what I mean? Like it's like that someone might draw that correlation.
Yeah.
Which again, don't interpret this as me saying that I think Arslan Ash should be bad. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I understand the correlation between if we ban this thing, then the kids at home are not going to try it.
Yeah.
Which is like the goal ultimately, is to make it so that the kids at home don't try it, right? I'm not saying that's going to work or not work. I'm just saying that, like,
Would you ban an alcoholic?
well, that's the thing. It always comes back. You ban someone who drinks a profuse amount of coffee before a match,
Yeah.
right? Like it always comes back to this, or cigarettes, like nicotine, or like it's just
Yeah.
like, where do you draw the line? It's impossible to draw, right? Like it's just fucking crazy. I mean, do you ban tennis players for eating a banana before a match because there's niacin in it? Like
Yeah.
like at some point, it's not. You can't fucking. It's just a bowl of spaghetti. There's
Yeah.
no right. But I do think this is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I think the fact that it was Arslan was like crazy. Like the
Yeah.
fact that it wasn't just like a player of some
Yeah, yeah.
renown, but like the single fucking
Yeah, like
greatest
the-
second of all time is like shy of knee or alongside knee. Like it's just absolutely nuts. Like I can't believe that like this is a world in which we're living. It's like such
Yeah.
an Onion article. You know what I mean? Like
And like the fact that like you know, it'd be fucking crazy, because there are like a lot of like FGC people who have gotten into like, you know, physical fitness
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah, yeah.
physique specifically, but like it would be a crazy full circle moment if it's like he grew up playing these games where these characters' bodies are so out of the realm of achievable,
yes.
and to get close to looking like fucking, I don't know,
Yeah.
who's his main? It's not
I think it changes.
anyway.
Yeah. Neither of us are Tekken guys.
Doesn't really fucking matter
No.
because they all are just
Look.
ripped as
I
shit.
mean, some of them literally have like heads like fucking
Yeah.
panthers, cheetahs.
Oh, King.
King,
Yeah.
my goat.
Was it in an attempt to chase that physique?
I,
Is that he was doing it, or was it just separate? Like he wanted to do it on his own, fell into a crowd where they're like, yeah, you should do this, and it is funny though that it's also like a fighting game.
it is. That's definitely
Like it is a little. There is a little bit of
irony.
subtle irony
Yeah,
that
there
it's
is.
like a fight, because like if it's like a shoot, like I don't think like you could take steroids and be better at like being a soldier.
No, like I just think it'd be like there's like a Barbara Walters special esque of like Arslan sitting on the couch and like, you know what I mean, doing like the Lance Armstrong
Yeah.
tell all on like how he got into it and how like, well, I just wanted to look like King, you know, like
Maybe it's us.
is it us?
Maybe we're the ones to do it.
Maybe we're the ones to do it.
Yeah.
I just don't understand like why he was tested.
So to my knowledge, it's because it was at like the East like it was in association with the Olympics,
Oh,
like the tournament, like the esports World Cup.
Oh shit!
So they test for everything all the time, and
They have like
because-
their known
and maybe
list
it's
of
like
banned,
part of
banned
like,
substances.
and maybe this is part of a process of like wanting to legitimize video games and
course.
gaming, and just it kind of made I don't know if it fell through the cracks, like they didn't think about this, because they're like, yeah, we're the Olympics, of course we test for fucking everything, including especially steroids, And because these games want to, get a little bit more legitimized, and now they're in this association with all these, official governing bodies and stuff like that, which is sick. It's cool for gaming. But as like a little thing, they're like, they didn't think that like
Yeah.
a single fucking gamer would be taking steroids. Like their image of like gamers is still like the scrawny like basement dweller, and not just think of some fucking yoked guy who's just like, and I don't know. Do you make special exceptions? No, I guess you can.
Also, not just Yoki, but like he's also the best one.
Yeah.
Like literally the guy.
Yeah.
Is the one who gets fucking outed. That's the funniest thing about this is that it just like, obviously it's like a bit of a comedy, and it seems like the community is like taking it with like, but like what is like sort of really funny is like he's like homie got outed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he had to apologize on Twitter basically for being like, yeah, like I just really wanted to get swole.
I do wonder if this was explained explicitly to not just him,
Yeah.
but like electronic athletes who are participating, because they've all done piss tests before, dope tests, or saliva tests. They've all done that at least once, I'm assuming, at some event they've been to.
Probably, yeah.
They're doing them at the Austin Major. They do them at Riot does it. Like they've probably done them once, but was it explained to them that like, no, this is now Olympic level,
Yes.
which means anything that you put into your body that would be banned at the Olympics is also going to be banned here?
Probably not. Just
that's
because it
what
feels like that's the kind of thing that would slip through the cracks.
That's
like
what
you
I
said.
mean.
Yeah.
Was that not explained? And
I
now,
don't think
listen,
so.
it was probably in some sort of written thing that it
Yeah,
wasn't
and if you've
explained to
taken
him,
10 of these
but
things
it's
before,
not,
why
but
would
it's
you
not their
ever-
fault,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like it's like they're like, no, these are the rules. It's not our fault that you didn't fucking read the fine print.
Yeah.
Um,
Would you take steroids to be better at an esport?
no, I'm good at every game I play.
Nice.
I don't think there is any getting better for me.
Honestly, taking steroids is to be better at esports is a skill issue.
No, I
feel.
just want to take steroids to be huge.
just to be fucking swole. I would take I would take them to win. I would not take them to win anything, but I would if I did. I would take them to win TI like 7 years ago. If I could,
It was $1 billion.
when it was a $45 million
Yeah.
prize pool. If I had to do steroids for like 1 year just to win TI one time, and then just never fucking do them again,
Yeah.
and take my fucking cool 3 milli and just like fuck off into the sunset, and then just go play fucking Super Meat Boy for the rest of my life.
57 years old. But
And I'm retiring at 27.
yeah, at what cost?
At this cost, brother.
Yeah,
yeah.
No, I wouldn't do it. My body's a temple, as you can tell. And as you can tell, yeah, enjoy these while you fucking can, because I can't wear shorts anymore, apparently, in this goddamn office. So, enjoy them while you can. That's all you're getting anymore. Soon they're going to make me wear a fucking sweater, so you're not going to be able to see these fucking pythons anymore either. So, yeah, enjoy my pasty white legs while you can.
They regulate bodies everywhere in esports,
Yeah.
not just at the Olympics, brother. They do it here too.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna be it for us today. TTK, just us fucking boys, lads, holding the fucking fort down.
Mm-hmm.
It'll never be this good again.
No.
It'll never
It's
just
only going to
be-
get worse.
It's only gonna get worse. It's just us two, absolutely fucking crushing it.
Yeah.
You know. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we will see you next Monday. After MSI, it will have concluded. We'll have a lot of League of Leggings to talk about. No legs, no leggings. No leggings? Can you wear leggings? Maybe you can wear leggings. We'll consult that. We'll talk. We'll see with management, see what they say. If leggings...
Just throw some awful fits together.
Absolutely. Just disgraceful fits. That would be sick, actually. I'm down for that.
And make them pay for it.
And make them pay for it. Yes, in more ways than one. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in, and have a good one.